Welcome to my podcast. Very rarely do we drink a podcast.
I'm delighted to be here, to be honest.
Yeah. Me too, thank you.
That's lovely.
Do we introduce each other? You can introduce me and I'll introduce you.
Well, you're a bit ahead of me in the game, so why don't...
This is Colin, everybody. He is a... I don't know, how do you describe yourself?
Well, since 1991, so about 34 years, I've been modelling. And I shoot a bit of TV, I act a little bit. And I'm from New Zealand. I was born in New Zealand. I'm Anglo-Indian. I'm half British, half Indian, as well as a few other things in the mix.
Interesting mix.
In the history of who, what I'm made of. And I've obviously we all eat, and I have a fascination with food. I've always been curious. I studied anthropology and religions at university, and one of the things that I was always interested in is the food story. Because we're fed a Hollywood food story, and that's not true of food. And food is I come from modelling, which is advertising, and so you understand the manipulation that goes into the food story as well. And we live in an age where people are just so self-absorbed and self-obsessed that they try to push their sort of food agendas on everyone. And it just doesn't work, does it?
Yeah, and there's often the food narrative that sort of surrounds our society. And I know that Kiwis, we grew up with meat and 3 veg and pavlova and ice cream for dessert.
Sure. And
how much that has changed. Well, that's what I grew up with, and now we're a fast food nation, and we and the vegetarian and vegan narrative is pushed so heavily. And the fact that we are a farming nation and our whole society and culture is based around the meat that we produce.
Sure. And
the fact that it's now vilified. And I think if we can stand up and be proud of what we produce.
I think that the story is that it's a choice, and I choose to lean into being a carnivore for personal reasons, or personal self-discovery. And I was never on trend, but I know I like food. And I know that there's certain foods I just cannot eat.
Well, tell me about that little story.
Well, I was on a TV show. It was called Dog Almighty. And
Dog Almighty?
Dog Almighty. Okay. It was a sort of a top model for dogs. And I'd been doing this thing, where they say, eat your colours and all that kind of... And so I was buying all these incredible vegetables. And the thing is about me is I love vegetarian food. I love the taste and everything. And I was so sick. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I'm eating what is considered all the best foods. And I'm eating the colours. And it looked spectacular, but I was, inflamed. I was inflamed.
So you had a sore stomach?
No, everywhere.
Oh,
I was puffy.
Wow.
And I was distended in my tummy.
Yeah.
And I had shooting pains, and I was hiding it from everyone because no one on a TV set. There's a cruelty to no matter who you are. If I was to sort of say, "Oh, I'm not feeling well," people would be rolling their eyes and saying, I had diva behaviours, and so you keep as a Kiwi, you kind of keep yourself together. And I remember sitting finding a cool bathroom, sitting in there holding myself, just going, I'm really problematically sick. And I didn't know, I didn't feel like vomiting, but I looked in the mirror, bloodshot eyes and puffy face.
And I wonder whether and I think there are many people who have those symptoms who are scared to say,
or just don't know what to say.
Well, yeah.
Don't know what to say. So anyway, I contacted, who do you contact? So I just said to my sister, something's very wrong with me. I said to my sister Kathleen, something's very wrong with me. I think I have to go to a doctor. and then she's like, naturally, this is in between shooting.
Wow.
And she said, what are your symptoms? And I said, this and this and this, and I look pregnant, and I'm in agony. And then she said that she had just listened to a podcast on being a carnivore. Do you know what that is? I said, not at all. And she said, here's what you do. Just go home and eat meat. Do it for 2 days. Just solid meat, eggs, cream, but just meat. More meat than anything. Just meat.
No vegetables.
No vegetables. No, zero. And then I was like, oh. And then she said, just eat the meat, and in 2 days, if you are the same or worse, we'll go to the doctors together. And there's always that sort of glimmer of, when someone hears you, you're just like, oh, I feel a bit safer now. But anyway, I go home and I eat. So on the shoot, there's all this sort of cheap,
sugary stuff,
cheap food, and then muesli bars and all that kind of crap. And then I go home and I eat meat, whatever it was. I think it was lamb chops and I just lots of them. And like a Tyrannosaurus. Anyway, the next day I felt better. I wasn't inflamed. The next day I was better. Not in 2 days. Yeah. It was like a miracle.
That's amazing.
And I said to my sister, God, I feel like I look good. And the yellowy bloodshot eyes had gone, and my eyes were sharp, but that's not the end of my food story. So I lean into being a carnivore, and then sometimes I'm at an event and I do sort of like mashed potatoes and things like that, and I bounce all over the place. But I just openly tell people I'm a carnivore, and people push back on me. And they tell me things like,
what does that mean? What does it mean to be a carnivore? Is that what they say?
What does that mean? Yeah. And you're on the wrong side of history.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like,
that hurts.
well, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
And because I come from a point of wellness.
Yeah, yeah. And when people can see you shining and thriving, and you're standing up for what you're eating, then
for a reason that is so tangible.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a great story.
It's wellness, yeah. And I just thank my sister. But anyway, what I've noticed is this mad underground of carnivore eaters. Like people are scared to sort of go, oh,
That's what I felt too when I first started. I felt, because I've done a lot of, I'm sort of from the yoga spiritual community, the New Age spiritual community, and no one eats meat.
The New Age, old age.
Yeah, if you go to a yoga retreat or any kind of vipassana or a 10-day silent retreat, whatever, it's all vegetarian food. So I won't go because I can't self-cater and I can't eat it. And so it's taken at least, I don't know, a couple of years to come out of the closet with what I was eating. And initially I was very dogmatic about it, but...
Were you ashamed?
I was like, no one's going to accept me, especially in the yoga community.
Who's not going to accept you?
Yeah, those people who I'm aspiring to be, trying to be a yoga teacher and,
But my understanding, using my own ethnic backdrop as being an Anglo-Indian, Malayali, that's your right.
Absolutely.
And the irony is all these people that preach a sort of a wellness, they're so fast to pull the rug out from under people, and it's like, no, wait a second, everyone can breathe. And to know history, to know that Buddha ate meat,
It's interesting where that dogma came from. Like, where did we stop eating meat to become more spiritual? Like, what happened?
What does that mean?
Yeah. What does more spiritual mean?
And also the understanding that when you eat anything, a vegetable or anything, in terms of Hinduism or Buddhism or Jainism, there is a life energy in it, and you can pray over any form of life and give it that kind of respect. So it's not just being vegetarian.
Yeah.
You know.
I remember the day I was actually really proud of being a carnivore, and I'd been to the gym, and like this was a few years into it, and I'd been to the gym, and two people that I talked to had both chosen to remove vegetables from their diet, and I went, wow, so it's happening. So people are slowly learning that removing toxic plants and inflammatory foods out of their diet and just choosing to eat animal products.
See, people
are
don't
around.
People don't realise the we're not here to throw, sort of water on vegetarians or vegans or anything. But the interesting thing is plants do have a reaction.
Yeah,
plants
they
have
do.
natural defences, and they can make anyone very unwell.
Beans, lentils, chickpeas, all those things that you mentioned earlier.
I can't eat them.
It's like they create toxicity in your gut. They're full of lectins, which create leaky gut. So that's what happens.
Yeah, that's what would have happened to me.
Yeah.
And other big words.
It's really interesting. Yeah. It is a really interesting topic. I love it. So we have got some food on the plate.
So I'm so spoiled. Is this what happens with every sort of podcast that you do? You bring
not generally,
selection
but I've got a very clever nephew. I've got two very clever nephews. One of them's in the room. The other one is a head chef at Depot, and they specialise in beautiful meat products. And we've got some marrow, and we've got a charcuterie board with, I don't even know what that round thing is, but
this.
Yeah.
It's a fish.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Great. Try it. A lot of people say, don't you get bored? Don't get bored with just eating meat. But if you think about
chicken.
If you think about the concept of eating nose to tail, and that's where homegrown primal came into it, because we started processing all the essential organs like the liver and the kidney and the heart and brain, because they are so nutrient dense. So it's not just eating meat, eating a variety of what's available as far as the animal kingdom goes. So we've got marrow.
But also, I guess, understanding what it is to not just eat prime cuts, which is what our country's, the backbone of this country is built on, prime cuts.
Yeah.
And not every part of the beast. And I think that is so educational for people, because I go back with my family in Great Britain, in Scotland. They were eating all the pieces of a beast.
Because, we are in the wealthiest time. Like, we're in the most abundant time of human history. You go back 100 years.
Ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, and everyone's, the majority of people don't understand how to find wellness. But, if a family or a community killed a cattle beast, they would process it, they'd do something with the leather, they'd pull out all the organs and use the intestines for sausage casings, and the whole thing, so that nothing was wasted.
No.
And if you come forward 100 years, think about the pet food industry and the
glue.
Yeah, glue, and the meat industry and the abattoirs. And when we first started, we couldn't find organs in the supermarket because it's grown me. Like I've matured around business communication with people. I didn't ever want to be the brand ambassador of this company. I looked and I compared myself to other people in the industry. They were all young, male, buff. I'm like, I can't be that, but I can be me.
Yeah. And
I can be loud and proud with what I do. And so it's grown me in that respect. So I feel very confident with my message, and I'm always up for learning more and reading more material and research papers.
I'm fascinated. It's a new world, but it's an old world story. And you look at all the foods around the world that, you look at native races and how they'll take everything apart. It's just fascinating, isn't it?
So let's just keep sharing the love and sharing the education around really good nutrition and good food. And
how do people get your product?
How do they get it? Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
We've got a website. It's very easy to get. Part of the business acumen for me is to be 100% perfect with my customer service. We'll try to be anyway. So if you go online to homegrownprimal.co.nz, it takes you through to the website. You can put things in your cart, and it generally overnight.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah, so people, and even
can people talk to you? And because I think
yeah,
that's
like
where
I'm 100% available.
Yeah.
There's always social media, messaging, emails, and I'm very happy to pick up the phone.
I think the funny thing about you and I is I sort of came out of left field with my story.
Yeah.
And we had a group around us, I remember, and you were like, "This is exactly what I do."
Mm.
And so I
like it
believe
when
in
people lean in, like, "Wait, really? Is that what you do? Wow, that's amazing." Yeah.
I'm all for
What
it.
about your fibre? That's another long conversation.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really, really beautiful.
And I'm really thankful that my sister just said to me, because, I'm not going to knock doctors as I knock doctors, but imagine if I went to the doctor. I'd just be prescribed A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
And is your sister still a carnivore?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. We'll have to interview her next time.
Yeah. I told her I was coming here.
Oh,
and
cool.
I said, and this is thanks to her.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
She's probably jealous.
Oh, well, next time. Well, how are we going for time?
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful. You're an amazing human. Yay! Thank you. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Okay, cool. Let's do this again sometime.
Oh, very keen.